Yeah, they thought that you was a shy girl until I made you my girl. Girl, you push me like a big boy till I cuffed you like you did something. You ain't gotta wait for it. You ain't gotta.
Welcome y'all, welcome back to my channel, Live Anuri. If you're new here, you can call me Liv. I haven't done one of these videos in a while where I'm talking one-on-one. If you are new to my channel and you want to browse, feel free, stick around, make yourself comfortable. I do travel vlogs, cooking, remote life, virtual, work from home, skincare routine, self-care routines, things like that. You know, exploring new places, new recipes, just basically lifestyle. I hope you guys, if you haven't already, check out some of my other vlogs. They're really good if I do say so myself, but I also want to incorporate sit down style videos for you guys as well. I'm gonna adjust my camera here so that way I'm in view. If y'all hear any background noise, that is little Jay upstairs. His door's closed, but you may still be able to hear him. He's just got home from school and he just wrapped up homework, so now it's time. It's just chill time for him. But I wanted to take a moment to hop in here and kind of connect with you guys on a personal level here, okay? I actually wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind. It's been on my mind heavy these days, especially after starting my YouTube channel. And that is a vulnerability, something that I have struggled with for quite some time. If y'all know, I'm a Scorpio. So Scorpios can be very private, very secretive, very, you know, like, behind the scenes, right? Like, we are a huge energy, but we don't really like people in our business. We don't really like to expose who we really are. Like, we really don't like to show a lot of people, a select few, you know, like a select chosen few would get to know the insights of like my day-to-day life. So me actually starting a YouTube channel where I am vlogging, right? That was something that I chose to do that was totally outside of my box. Like, I am an introverted extrovert, right? Or an extroverted introvert, whichever way you want to say it. I have a little bit of both in terms of personality traits. Like, I can be very extroverted, like I am brave. So I'm not afraid to strike up a conversation with a new person or to say hello or to introduce myself in a public space. I feel like all of us as people get nervous in new environments, but the streak of braveness that I have, I'm also an Aries rising. So if y'all know anything about signs, y'all know that Aries are very passionate. Like, we're fire signs. We are very driven. We're like, you know, we're kind of headstrong. Like, we go towards our target. Like, we go straight forward. We have a lot of courage, right? So I think that's probably the Aries side of my makeup that gives me that added confidence or that courage or whatever to kind of push forward. But at the same time, my sun sign is a Scorpio. So I am really, at heart, I'm a very private person. I'm a person who doesn't like to expose what I have going on. You know what I mean? Like, things that I hold sacred, things that I hold dear, like my family, like my friends, like my life, like the things that actually matter to me. You know, historically, Scorpios don't really like to expose that because we are very protective of our private life, because our private life is so important to us. However, on the flip side, I like to challenge myself, right? And I feel like in life, you gotta constantly challenge yourself. Like, you cannot grow complacent. You cannot just rest on your laurels. For me, I feel like in order to continue to evolve and to continue to grow and to push the envelope forward, I have to do things that are outside of my comfort zone. Now, that doesn't mean like all the time I'm just randomly doing things that are outside of my comfort zone, right? Like, just for the sake of doing it. No, but there are things that I feel like could be a hindrance. Like, even though by design, I feel like Scorpios are naturally private. Privacy is good, but sometimes that mysteriousness and all of that privacy, it's not on purpose at all. Like, it's not done on purpose. Okay, I'm out of space. I'm gonna have to swap memory cards. I'm gonna come back and talk to y'all in a minute. Okay, I'm back, sorry. Had to switch memory cards. We just came from a trip, so I didn't realize my memory card was full. Good thing I have another one on standby that I've cleared that is empty, so we can jump right back into it. If y'all watch any of my vlogs, y'all know that I'm always interrupted by emails and stuff like that because of work. So anyway, and then also forgive the lighting. If it's like kind of dark, I wanted to do this video earlier when I had more natural light. Like right now it is 6:55. in the evening. We're in October now, so we're working with limited daylight these days. We're not there yet where it gets dark early because the time hasn't fell backwards. I always have to remember like spring forward for the time or fall backwards when it's fall time, when you're setting your clocks forward or back. But anyway, the time hasn't changed yet, so it's not completely like where it's pitch black at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock yet. But it is later in the day. I meant to do this video earlier, but I really didn't have the time, so we're doing it now. If it gets too dark, I'll just turn the light on. So yeah, so vulnerability is something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, just being vulnerable, especially if you are someone who does not like wear your emotions or your heart on your sleeve, where like everyone can read your emotions. And yes, I'm talking about like sun signs and things like that, but even if you're not into like any of that type of stuff, just in general, personality wise, if you're someone who is hard to read or is very private, or you know, is the strong friend in your friend groups, or you don't feel comfortable being vulnerable in most situations because you just kind of don't want to expose yourself at that level to people that you don't trust, or whatever the case may be, I feel like that a lot of people struggle with being vulnerable. So for someone like me, and this is why I gave the background of like, hey, I'm a Scorpio sun, I'm an Aries rising, you know, so Scorpios by design are naturally very, very private. That's why I gave some of that background, because that describes me to a T. Now, all the Scorpio characteristics, I cannot claim, unfortunately. Maybe I had a time in my life where I was some of those traits, but I feel like I've evolved past some of those traits. Now, there are some other traits where both Scorpio and Aries, I feel like resonate with me like 100%, like that is me to a T. When it comes to privacy, I'm a very private person. I really don't like to, even at work, like I'm not gonna, like out of all my friends, I probably know more about them than they know about me. And that's not like on purpose. It's not like, oh, I'm purposely gathering your secrets and I'm keeping my secrets from you. I just don't feel comfortable. It's just not normal for me to share a lot about myself. Like I talk about surface level stuff for the most part. I have a few close friends that know a lot more about me than the typical person, but even in those cases, being vulnerable is just something that I've always struggled with, just because one, I'm a private person. Two, I feel like those of us who are typically like the strong friend or whatever, we really don't find the space for whatever reason to be vulnerable, or we feel like we have to support everyone else, right? Like we feel like we have to be there for other people. Like if we all breaking down, then who's gonna hold, you know, the other person up? So I think all of those things kind of play a part, mainly the fact that I like to be private. However, I do feel like a lot of times some of these things, even though this is like traits that are natural to you, sometimes they can be a hindrance to like your progression in life, to you evolving in some instances. So for me personally, vulnerability was one of those things that I felt like, okay, yes, I'm private. However, my privacy, is it really doing me good or is it doing me bad? Now, I know that I'm gonna always be private about certain things. There's some things that are just off limit that I will just never share, right? Like, because they're sacred to me. But at the same time, I'm working on myself in the aspect that it's still good to share. Oh no, is it dark? I can't tell. Is it dark out? Should I turn the light on? I don't know if I should turn the light on. I'm gonna leave the light on for a little bit longer, and then if it just gets too dark, I'm gonna turn it on. So basically, like me starting a YouTube channel was a way for me to work on that goal of becoming and being more vulnerable. Like I've even had to learn how to be vulnerable, like with my husband. Like me and my husband we've been together for almost 20 years. We've been married for 10 years, literally high school sweethearts. So like he's like my best friend, but even with him, I struggled to be vulnerable. Like that was something that I had to learn how to do. Like it wasn't natural. It didn't come natural. You know what I mean? Because like my background, I'm Nigerian. My family is from Nigeria. So like a lot of African households, even Caribbean households, even just Black households, like worldwide, right? In these households, it's kind of frowned upon to be vulnerable. It's kind of frowned upon to be, because it's looked at as kind of like weak. Right? So you have that factor, you have, you know, just your normal personality factoring in, you have, you know, different things, maybe even experiences in the past where you may have been vulnerable to someone, or you might have opened up to, let's say, some friends in the past, and it didn't go the way you thought, or they turned out to be what we call fake friends. Let me turn the light on, y'all, because it's getting dark. Now that the light is on, I feel like I need to go close the blinds. Hold up, I'll be right back. I am back. Okay, so I'm back. Is that better? I think that's better. Hopefully it's better. So yeah, I feel like I lost my train of thought. I think I was saying basically like, you know, sometimes past experiences will prevent you. Like when it comes to vulnerability, past experiences that I have had past experiences where I felt like maybe I shared a little bit too much and maybe it was used against me, or it wasn't shared in a safe space, or with safe people. So I think like for me, what has helped me the most as it relates to vulnerability is finding like people who I can trust, right? Sometimes you can't, like that's hard. That alone is hard because like, how do you know who to trust? Like you don't know you can trust someone until something goes down, right? Like you don't really, that's not something that you could see by just looking at someone like, yeah, I can trust you, I can trust you, I can trust. That takes time. But I do feel like that is one thing that you can do. Like if you struggle with vulnerability like I have, that's something that you can factor in. Like, you know what I'm saying? Making sure that you are being vulnerable with people who are safe. But to be quite honest with you, can't always determine like who you can trust and who you can't. That does take discernment. So prayers involved, okay? You can't do anything without God. That's me personally. I don't know about y'all, or, you know, I want to be respectful to everyone's religion and views and things like that. But for me, discernment also plays a role in like me being able to know who I can trust, who I can open up with, who I can whatever. But also I feel like with this YouTube journey, this is a step in the right direction. And this is like really a big win for me because like I said, just sharing my life, like turning on a camera and showing y'all what I do, showing y'all what I think, or showing y'all like things that matter to me like that, is not something that I would have been okay with doing a few years ago. You know what I mean? Because again, I like to be super private. However, you have to, first of all, it's gonna be uncomfortable. That's what I've learned, right? Like you have to be okay with the discomfort of it all. Okay, like the discomfort of it all. You gotta be okay with that because it's not comfortable. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get doing it. Like before, I'd be like, I'm not about to turn on my camera and vlog, like for what? But I actually enjoy, like I genuinely enjoy vlogging. I genuinely enjoy like recording my day, recording my life, key moments, or just fun things, or just my day-to-day. I like the editing process. I like putting it all together. I really like at the end of it all, you know, being able to watch it. Like I watch my videos probably more than anybody else, right? Because I like what I've put together. Like it makes me happy to be able to watch my videos. Like I laugh at myself, you know what I mean? Because I'm funny. You know what I mean? So I think like self-acceptance plays a big part in being vulnerable, or learning how to be vulnerable, because you gotta be okay with yourself first to be able to really either not care what other people think, or to be okay with what other people think, whether it's good or bad. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm funny. If you don't think it was funny, then that's you. But that's okay, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be okay with that. Like that's part of it. So self-acceptance is one, and I'm just looking at the notes that I took. And then also learning how to accept imperfection. That's a big one, because for me, I can be a little bit of a perfectionist. Like anybody who knows me, like really knows me, will tell you that I can ruminate on something for like way longer than I should before I just actually do whatever it is, right? Like I'm second guessing, should I do it this way? Should I do it that way? When I do it, like, oh, I want to take it back because I need to correct this and I want to correct that. And can I unpublish this, or can I pull it back? But honestly, with the YouTube journey, it's taught me so far. And again, I'm still starting off in YouTube. I've only made like 12 videos. You know what I'm saying? Like this is all brand new for me. I did start a YouTube back in 2020, but I probably did like 4 videos then, and I just kind of stopped. I wasn't doing vlogging or anything like that. I was really just doing more of this type of content where I'm just talking to you guys one-on-one, which was cool. And I will incorporate more of those on my channel. I really want to do a little bit of everything, but really focus on lifestyle and luxury on a budget and shopping and, you know, cooking, restaurants, travel, like that type of stuff. Skincare, you know, trying new things. Like that's kind of what I want my channel to focus on. However, I do like to take the time to sit and talk and kind of talk about what's on my mind, or new developments, you know, new intellectual developments type of thing. So Yes, I did have a YouTube channel back in 2020, or I'm sorry, it's the same channel, but I did start, like I did have videos that I started. I only did like 4. I unpublished those after a while because it's like I wasn't consistent, I wasn't posting, I wasn't doing any of that. But I don't even know why I brought that up. Okay, so I can be a little bit of a perfectionist, but that's something I'm working through. I've been working through. I've been getting so much better. Like when I'm posting stuff, even on Instagram or just any social media, like social media is not the end all be all. Let's start there. Okay, social media is not the end all be all. Like life is for the living, right? It's for the living. It's not for the scrolling. It's for the living. Right? Life is for the living. So life is really about the everyday, the day to day. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Who are you spending your time with? The things you do on the weekend, the things you do during the week, not you scrolling on social media 24/7 or posting a picture or liking and commenting and things like that. That's just a small part of life, right? And the problem, I think, what happens is that for some of us, we turn that into what life is about, right? And it gets easier and easier to be able to do that because it's like, everyone is on social media. So it's like, if you're not on social media, you're kind of like the odd man out because the majority of the world is on social media, scrolling and posting and liking and commenting. So you kind of feel a little bit out, you know, left out if you're not like engulfed in that or enmeshed in that. But at the same time, I feel like it's very important to remember that life itself is for the living, is for us to actually go out and do and be and, you know, spend time and build real connections and, you know, all that stuff is kind of like a facade on social media. Like we know that, like we've had these conversations before. Like we know that social media is like 10% of someone's actual life. It's really only highlighting like the good days. Like, you know what I mean? It's not showing the other 90% of just what life is. So remembering that, keeping that at the forefront of your mind is important or whatever. But for me, like I said, realizing and accepting the fact that I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect. I don't want to be perfect, right? Like that's not a thing. Perfection is not a thing. And actually the imperfection is perfect, right? Like me being imperfect is perfect. Like that's how God designed it. That's what he wanted for us. You know what I'm saying? That's what he wanted for us. That's why we exist this way. Because if not, then we wouldn't. We would be perfect. Everybody be perfect, right? Everybody be the same. Everything would be perfect. So accepting the fact that it's okay to not be perfect, right? Imperfection is perfection. So that's helped me to be more vulnerable because everything is not gonna be great all the time. Everything's not gonna be like, and then a lot of times when you're judging yourself so harshly or when you're scared to be vulnerable because you are critiquing yourself so much or you feel like, oh, I just let this out to the world's gonna judge me. Like it's fear of judgment as well. But the problem is you're really judging yourself more than the world will judge you. I mean, now let's not front. Like there's trolls out there, there's mean people, there's all kinds of stuff, right? However, let's say about 70% of the time, it's us that are judging ourselves the harshest. It's us that are judging ourselves the harshest. That's why we refuse to do certain things. That's why we second guess ourselves when it comes to doing things that increase our vulnerability. It's mean people out there. Let's not act like they're not. And you know, that is to be acknowledged. However, a lot of times, if you're able to accept yourself and if you're not as critical towards your own self, then the criticism coming from the outside won't penetrate you as much. But if you are already critical of yourself and you are, you know, doubting everything you do, or you're just like, oh God, this is not like you critiquing every minor detail. Like when the world does it, like you're gonna be like, yeah, I knew it. Exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like really just co-signing what you thought of yourself. So let's try to get rid of that part. Let's get rid of our own negative talk. And if the negative talk comes from the world, let's try to build ourselves up so much that it doesn't even matter. Like who cares? You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if we judge everybody with the same detailed lens that these trolls judge others, like there's something to pick apart when it comes to any and everybody. So like, that's actually ridiculous. That doesn't even make any sense. But so anyway, not trying to be perfect, remembering and realizing that no one is perfect, but that at the same time, practicing self-compassion. You gotta be kind to yourself. So even when things go wrong, even when you are vulnerable, let's say it backfires in your face or whatever, or you tell somebody something and you find out, man, this bitch is a fake friend. Okay, like even in that case, like you still have to be compassionate with yourself. Like don't kick yourself. Like I knew I shouldn't have told this bitch nothing. Like still be compassionate to yourself. It's okay. You trusted, and this is even in relationships. Maybe someone did you dirty or let you down or whatever the case may be. You trusted, it didn't go the way that you wanted it to, and that's okay. But don't beat yourself up too bad about it, because at the end of the day, it happens. It can happen to anyone, and it happens. And that shouldn't be what then shuts you off from being vulnerable with the rest of the world. So that's a key point. And then at the end of the day, you live and you learn. But when you live and you learn, that doesn't mean that you should shut yourself off from these experiences forever and like never give another person a chance. Like that's not it. Because at that point, you're only hurting yourself with that. You know what I'm saying? You have to be compassionate with yourself. You know, people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. So even if you made a mistake, you kind of grow through the experience. Like you learn from it and you kind of try to figure out what you can do next time to maybe prevent that same outcome. And maybe there's nothing you could have done. Like there's some situations where there was literally nothing you could do. It is what it is. It happened. Some people are assholes. You know what I mean? Some people are not nice. So we talked about letting go of the fear of judgment. Don't worry about what other people think. Everybody, like, it's crazy because the people that are so judgmental, like you gotta know, like in their own heads, it's hell up in there. Okay, it's torture in these people's minds that are so judgmental of other people. Because if they're judgmental of you to that degree, just imagine how judgmental of themselves they are. So, you know, don't worry about people judging you or whatever. Do you like yourself? Do you like yourself? That's gonna be the most important thing. Like that's what I focus on all the time. Like, do I like myself? So like someone might have their opinions or whatever, and I'm not saying like just brush everything off to the wayside, but like, you know, analyze it. Like listen to what people are saying, but this isn't for everybody. Like I don't mean just a random person tell you something, you need to just listen to what they're saying. People on the internet, like I said, can be cruel. So no, not when it comes to that. If it's trusted people that you really care about that are giving you like insight about yourself or whatever the case may be, take that with a grain of salt. You know, do your own self-work, introspection, and really see if it's something that you need to apply or not apply. Definitely when it comes to just strangers on the internet or just strangers in general or just haters in general, don't worry about what they gotta say. Focus on how you feel about yourself. And if you notice that you don't feel great about yourself, or your self-esteem is low, or you are judging yourself harsher than the outside world, then that's when you know that there's some work to do. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some work you gotta do. Like you really need to tap into yourself and start thinking about things about yourself that you actually like. Personality wise, right? We're not just talking about physically, we're talking about inside of you. Are you kind? Are you respectful? Are you honest? Do you want others to win? Are you empathetic? Do you care when other people are going through things? Do other people's sad stories touch your heart? Like, do you genuinely want to help people, you know, that need help? Are you someone who speaks up for others who may not have a voice? Or are you someone who has courage, right? To be able to speak up for people in situations where they can't speak up for themselves? Are you someone who is like a leader? You know what I'm saying? Are you someone who's a good listener? Are you like there's so many traits that you could analyze about yourself, and I'm sure you're gonna find about 50 things about yourself that you really, really like. And those are the things you really need to focus on. You know what I mean? That's what you need to focus on. So the more that you build that part of yourself up, then the less the judgment from the world will matter to you, or what someone else thinks about you and they don't even know you or whatever, the less that's gonna really, you know, the less weight that's gonna hold. And then in turn, that helps you to be able to be more vulnerable, because now you really don't care what other people think to that degree, because you know yourself. So that gives you more courage to be able to kind of step out there and do the things that take vulnerability. Whether it's starting that YouTube channel, whether it's, you know, opening up to people, sharing your story, whatever your story may be. And then another thing, learn to communicate openly. So of course, vulnerability isn't just about sharing emotions. It's really about being able to communicate openly and honestly with others. Being able to say how you really feel, what you really think, and not just what you think they want to hear, or what you think what's popular to say, or what you feel like others expect you to say. Like, how do you really, really feel? And that's something that a lot of people struggle with, just because sometimes it's easier just to say what you know someone probably wants to hear, rather than really taking the time to express how you really feel. Because at the end of the day, sometimes your opinion might not be the popular opinion. And when your opinion is not the popular opinion, that's gonna take a lot more explanation to kind of make someone else understand where you're coming from. And some people just really don't want to do that. Like, you know, they just would rather just say whatever they feel like other people want to hear, or just what's popular to say, or, you know what I'm saying, rather than expressing their own feelings and possibly being judged for them, or having to re-explain and explain and explain why they feel how they feel. But that's all part of being vulnerable. That's part of being vulnerable. Like, you gotta be willing to, you know, speak candidly, talk about how, like, I want your own perspective, your perspective. Like, if I'm talking to someone, I don't want them telling me, like, that's a robot. Like, that's like a robot. I don't want them telling me what they think I want to hear or what everybody else says. I want to know what they think, because everyone is a unique individual. So if I'm taking my time to talk to you, I want to know what you think. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's not what I think, especially if it's not what I think, like, I want to hear your perspective. And if it takes additional conversation for me to understand where you're coming from, I'm willing to engage in that. And anyone who's not, they don't matter anyway, okay? If someone doesn't want to take the time to understand where you're coming from, or to give you the room to, like, explain your thought or whatever the case may be, then you're probably better off not talking to them anyway. All right, so we talked about discomfort and embracing discomfort as a part of the process. I want to kind of highlight that again to say that when you are kind of embracing discomfort as part of the process and you lean into that discomfort, like, that's where growth happens. Like, that's where you grow. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to be stagnant. We don't want to be the same person 10 years from now that we were, you know what I'm saying? Like, we want to evolve. We want to grow in the best ways possible. We want to grow financially, spiritually, mentally, physically. We want to be better in all ways. So one of the best ways to grow is to understand that growing is uncomfortable. Like, you can't, if you're doing the same thing every day and, you know, you are in your little pocket and it is what it is, like, you're not really growing. You might be, you know, fine tuning a skill. You might be sharpening a skill, but you're not necessarily growing in the aspect of, like, from point A to point Z. You might be at point A and you might be getting really, really good at point A. But in order to progress and continue going from point A to B to C to D, that's gonna take some type of discomfort, some level of discomfort. So embrace it. So vulnerability isn't about oversharing or weakness or anything like that. It's about being open, honest, and emotionally available. So that is one of the biggest takeaways. Like, it's not all about just, like, sharing your weakest points in life. Oh, I'm being vulnerable. Here's another thing. Here's something I used to think. I used to think, like, if I'm vulnerable with people, I'm literally giving them ammunition to, like, attack me in the future if they so choose, right? So that definitely had me like, forget just being a Scorpio, just in general, that ain't my vibe. That's not my cup of tea. I don't feel like I need to give you a weapon to attack me with. And unfortunately, as we're growing through life or whatever, the younger we are, especially when it comes to, like, female relationships, friends and things like that, unfortunately, and I know it's some grown ass women out here still stabbing each other in the backs. And I pray to God that that is not your experience as a grown woman, that you're not in circles like that, or that you're not experiencing that. If you are, my heart goes out to you, because I know how hard it is to be let down by friendships, right? It feels so good to, like, find a village of women that, or men, if you're a guy, or whatever your crowd is. It feels so good to be able to find your village. So I know how it feels. Like, I know what the opposite of that would feel like. Like, you literally feel just completely naked and exposed. So I want to say that vulnerability isn't really about just oversharing or, like, sharing your weaknesses and giving people ammunition to come and attack you with. It's really about making sure that you're not getting in your own way because of fear. Like, you're not letting fear or discomfort dictate your connections and the way that you communicate. Y'all got me? Vulnerability does not equal weakness. So that's something else that I've learned. Vulnerability does not equal weakness. It doesn't, okay? It's an essential part of being a human. It's essential, an essential part of being a human, not an optional part. It's essential. That same fear that you have, it really could be a door that's blocking you from, like, the best relationships you could ever have. Like, even with my husband, like, when we were able to conquer, like, vulnerability part, my husband, he's always been able to be vulnerable with me. But me, on the other hand, I'm just not, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I come from this strict Nigerian household, like, you gotta be tough. You know what I'm saying? Not just you gotta be tough, but, like, a lot of Nigerian women, they're very stoic. They're very, you know, measured. They don't share a lot. They're very dare I say calculated, maybe calculated is the wrong word, but they're definitely they're not just open and expressive. So that's something that, like I said, I've had to learn how to be. Naturally, I'm very open and expressive when I feel comfortable with someone, when I trust someone. However, to actually trust someone or trust people has probably been what has been the challenge, to like truly trust them to be able to be that way. But yeah, that's basically when you're unlocking new chapters and new levels of relationships and new levels in life in general, is when you're able to conquer the vulnerability piece, to be able to be vulnerable. You know, you got to be able to share. You got to be able to, you know, and because sharing is how you connect with people. That's how you connect. How small is that? Busy girl. Okay, so I have a call coming in. It's one of my homegirls, but I'm gonna have to call her back because I gotta record. All right. So vulnerability just allows us to be able to form deeper connections, improve our emotional health, and live more authentically, which is basically, which should be the goal of everybody. Like, that's what we should all be trying to do, to live more authentically. You know what I mean? To be our true selves, to be able to be our true selves and be comfortable being our true selves, and, you know, be who God created us to be. Like, be your unique self. So that's what this YouTube journey is for me, is a safe space for me to be vulnerable, for me to share my opinion, my perspective from my corner of the world. And I'm really happy about that. So I wanted to make this small video, short video. Hopefully it's short. I don't know how long it ran into, but I wanted to make this short video just to kind of share that with y'all, because it's something that I've really been working on, and I gotta pat myself on the back because I actually am doing it and getting easier to share. And I'll continue to share as my life continues to go up and up and up. I'm gonna continue to share, and I'm hoping that I'm able to continue building connections, because that's the goal of it all. And, you know, hopefully being able to help someone somewhere with my perspective. So I'm hoping that I'm able to, you know, connect with, you know, with anyone that this resonates with. But is vulnerability something you struggle with? Do you have any trouble being vulnerable? Are you someone who is able to, you know, tell your business, or are you the friend that all the business comes to? Are you the friend that all the business comes to? Or do you have a circle where you feel like, I could share my ups and downs, I could share my highs and lows, my triumphs and my failures, and I could be vulnerable with, you know, this group of people? Have you found your safe space? Anyway, drop down your thoughts in the comments below, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. I'm about to get in this kitchen and I'm about to make dinner. It's what time is it? It's 7:34, so I need to make dinner. Hubby's on his way home from work right now, so I'm about to go in there. Probably on the menu today is, I'm about to make some red beans and rice. I'm about to make some baked jerk chicken wings. It's gonna be really yummy. My camera's overheating, so I gotta go. So I'll see y'all in the next one. I love y'all. Bye.